Imagine you walking through one of the hottest, emptiest deserts on Earth. Nothing but endless sand in every direction. Then, out of nowhere, you spot something impossible. A giant piece of glass. Not a bottle. Not a window. Not something made by people. A solid chunk of natural glass, sitting in the middle of the desert. It sounds like science fiction, but it is completely real. And the story behind it begins nearly 29 million years ago. Scattered across a remote part of the Libyan desert are thousands of pieces of strange yellow-green glass. Some are as small as pebbles, others weigh over 20 kilograms. At first glance, they don't look that unusual. But once scientists studied them, they realized they were looking at one of the greatest geological mysteries on Earth. Here's why. To turn ordinary sand into glass, you need temperatures of around 700 degrees Celsius, or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than molten lava, hot enough to melt steel. So how do you heat an entire desert to those temperatures? That question confused scientists for decades. The obvious answer was a volcano. Except there aren't any volcanoes anywhere near the area. Maybe lightning. Lightning can melt sand into glass, creating thin tubes called fulgurites. But those are tiny. The Libyan Desert Glass covers thousands of square kilometers. Then came another idea. What if a giant meteor slammed into the Earth? That would definitely create enough heat. The problem? There was no crater. Researchers searched the region over and over again, expecting to find the impact site. Nothing matched the age or the scale of the glass. It was as if something had released an unbelievable amount of energy without ever touching the ground. Today, the leading theory is even more incredible. Around 29 million years ago, a massive asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere at an enormous speed. Instead of crashing into the planet, it exploded high above the desert. Think about the Chelyabinsk meteor that exploded over Russia in 2013. It shattered thousands of windows and injured more than 1,000 people even though the asteroid was only about 20 meters across. Now imagine something much larger. The explosion would have created a fireball so intense that the desert floor instantly reached temperatures high enough to melt sand into liquid glass. Within moments, it cooled back down, leaving behind the strange yellow-green glass that still exists today. But the mystery didn't end there. When scientists examined the glass under powerful microscopes, they found tiny minerals that only form under extreme pressure. One of them was a rare form of zircon that can only be created during massive cosmic impacts. That discovery was a huge clue. Even without a giant crater, the evidence pointed toward a catastrophic explosion from space. And then archaeologists made another fascinating discovery. Thousands of years after the glass formed, ancient Egyptians began collecting it. They had no idea where it came from. To them, it must have looked like a gift from the gods. One of the most famous pieces was carved into a beautiful scarab-shaped gemstone and placed inside the ceremonial breastplate of King Tutankhamun. Think about that for a second. A piece of glass created by a cosmic explosion nearly 29 million years ago ended up buried with one of history's most famous pharaohs. Without realizing it, Tutankhamun was carrying a tiny piece of an ancient space disaster. Even today, scientists continue studying the glass because it still has secrets to reveal. Some researchers believe the explosion may have been even more powerful than we imagine. Others think there could still be an undiscovered impact site hidden beneath layers of sand. The debate isn't completely over, but one thing is certain. Events like this aren't just part of Earth's distant past. They're still happening. Every single day, our planet is bombarded by material from space. Most of it burns up harmlessly in the atmosphere before anyone notices. Sometimes, though, something bigger slips through. In 1908, an object exploded above Siberia in what is now known as the Tunguska Event. The blast flattened around 80 million trees across more than 2.0 square kilometers of forest. No impact crater, just a massive explosion in the sky. It showed that an asteroid doesn't have to hit the ground to cause devastating damage. That's exactly why space agencies constantly scan the sky. Powerful telescopes search for near-Earth asteroids years before they get close to our planet. The earlier they're found, the better the chances of changing their path if one ever becomes a real threat. It is strange to think that one of the biggest clues about our future has been sitting quietly in a desert for millions of years. To most people, it is just an unusual rock. But to scientists, it is evidence that our planet has survived events almost impossible to imagine. And somewhere out there, beyond our atmosphere, countless other asteroids are still traveling through space. Most will never come near Earth, Some already have. The question is, when will the next one arrive?